In this class today, we started off learning about the Great Depression, and I want to begin with an analogy. A fist compared to a flick. And I know this seems like an odd analogy, but let me explain it to you. A flick is when you hit somebody with one finger, and even the biggest, strongest person in the world can only do so much damage with one finger. It might hurt, it might leave a bruise, but if somebody flicks you, you'll live to fight another day. Now, if you take your four fingers and thumb and you ball it together, now that's a fist. Now, a fist can knock you out. So the reason I use fist is that a fist, there's five. The five things that caused the Great Depression are right here, and there's no particular order, but these happen in conjunction that crippled the economy from 1929 to 1939, an incredibly rough decade. And these five things that happened, the stock markets crashed, there was an overproduction of agriculture, protectionism kicked in, there was an inequality of wealth, and war debts and reparations. So in conjunction, all at once, it knocked out the world economy. It didn't flick the world economy, it knocked it out. So let me go into some brief detail about these five things. Now, the stock market crashing, this happened in 1929, and the Dow Jones lost 30.5%. Now, here's where it got real ugly. Regular people put their money into a bank, and the bank would take that money and put it to the stock market. Now, if the stock market crashed, they lost all of their customers' money, and the bank shut down. So people showed up to the bank to get their money out. It was gone. They were broke. All that, you know, um, investing and all that planning and all those hopes for the future just vanished. Your nest egg was gone. And it wasn't just America. Now, a lot of this was predicated because of lies, where businesses were lying about their value, and people had an ability to buy on margin, which was problematic. But this was the first thing that caused the Great Depression. Now, the second item is overproduction of agriculture. That sounds like a really good thing, but let me explain to you why it was problematic at the time. So the D stands for demand. Now, demand is steady. I don't care where in the world you are. I don't care what time period. People need to eat. That's not non-negotiable. You have to eat. Now, if the supply for food is so high, it kills profits. So the price for food goes down to the point where some farms go out of business. They didn't make enough money. So the next year rolls around. The demand for food is still there, but the supply is down, therefore the price is up. Now, if you're spending too much money on food, there's less for your other bills. So I'll give you some real life stuff here. I pay about 15% of the money I earn for food. That leaves 85% for my mortgage and my light bill and my car bill and that kind of thing. Now, if the price of food went way up, I had to spend 50% of my money on food. Something's going to give. And if I can't pay my mortgage, I'm out. And this happened to a lot of people where they were out of their homes because these sorts of things happen. Okay, so that's the second reason the Great Depression happened. Now, the third one is called protectionism. You look at that root word, you're protecting. Again, it sounds good, on paper here, you're protecting, but protectionism economically is when countries want to protect their own economic interests. So they put these tariffs on their products, making it way too expensive. So instead of a free market where the competition makes the prices reasonable, if everybody's putting tariffs on their products, things go way up. And again, less money to pay your bills because you are paying a lot more because of these tariffs and these nations trying to protect themselves. So that's the third reason the Great Depression happened. Now, the fourth reason is inequality of wealth. And let me give you an analogy to explain this. Now, before your time, we used to have open lunch. So during lunch, people could leave. It doesn't matter what grade you were in. And, happy people, they were running down the street or driving, and they're going to Cantoro's, my favorite place, or Subway, or Jimmy John's, or getting a Whopper, or Burger King. Now, we're a middle class school. Now, let's pretend if we had open lunch again and 300 kids had 10 bucks in their pocket. You can get a lunch for 10 bucks around here. Now, if 300 kids spent 10 bucks on their lunches, the local businesses would get $3,000 a day. Needless to say, they missed Clarenceville when we closed up our lunches. Now, let me give you another scenario. Just about everybody at Clarenceville is poor, like poor, poor, poor. They cannot afford to go out to lunch, but we have 20 sons and daughters of gazillionaires. They can buy whatever they want. Money is no object. So those 20 kids hit the road. Now, I don't know. I eat a lot. It would be hard to spend $30 on a lunch. I mean, I'd put a lot of extra cheese on that Whopper if you're doing that. But let's say that's true. And those 20 kids are able to spend $30 on a lunch. Well, that's only $600 for the local businesses. What's the moral of the story here? If you have a few rich and a lot poor, there's less money flowing than a large middle class. And what was happening at the time, we had a few individuals who were crazy rich. Most people were poor. That's the fourth reason the Great Depression happened. And then the fifth reason, war debts, Treaty of Versailles. Now, we're going to be talking about the two world wars here in a couple days. But when the war was over, Germany had to pay for the majority of the war. And I'm going to give you a hockey analogy. I'm not a hockey guy. I don't know very much about hockey, but I know in hockey there are 6 versus 6. And if somebody does wrong, they commit a penalty, well, they get pulled out, and then it's 5 versus 6. They call that being shorthanded. And it's not a place you want to be, 5 versus 6. And the reason I say this is at the time there were 6 heavy hitters economically, and Germany got pulled out of that. When you pull out one of the main economic powers, there's going to be less money flowing, less economic output. So, when we do learn about the world wars, I think you're going to see how catastrophic the Treaty of Versailles was, but we'll wait until another day. So, based on these 5 reasons, this is the graphic organizer that's on Google Classroom. And if you can fill that in, that's going to be our starting point, and then we're going to work on a graph and create an SAQ. So we have 3 activities related to the Great Depression, this one being the first of them. So hope this PowerPoint helped keep you in the loop and help you fill these rectangles in. And the Great Depression was a very, very rough time, but this nation survived it. We've survived some hard times, and you could make an argument maybe these were the worst 10 years in U.S. history. You could make that argument. So I appreciate you watching.